Okay, so now that we've discussed a little bit about the world of monsters in Beowulf and what the monsters represent, I would like to turn our attention now to the world of the humans and the society that they inhabit and the nature of social relationships in this world a little more specifically. I apologize, I'm not being chronological, but I don't want to just give you a summary. I want to provide you with some kind of just an overview of different themes and backgrounds and important elements of the text. So when Beowulf arrives on the shores of Hrothgar's kingdom, he is initially greeted suspiciously by Wulfgar, I think his name is, Wulfgar, who is guarding the shores. But he recognizes Beowulf. He recognizes that he is there to help, and Beowulf is welcomed into the halls of Heorot with a feast. In Germanic society, as well as most pagan societies at the time, the relationship between guest and host is something sacred. The kindness of King Hrothgar is clearly shown through the feast and celebration that he offers to Beowulf, and this further shows that Hrothgar is a good king through the hospitality that he displays during the feast. This hospitality, however, is threatened by one of Hrothgar's subjects, Unferth. Unferth is a kind of Loki figure. You see this figure appear in the Iliad. He challenges the valor. He challenges the glory of Beowulf. He relates the story of Breca and the race in the sea, in which Breca, another hero, and Beowulf engaged in a swimming competition across the open ocean. And Unferth says, Beowulf, how can you possibly save us? You could not even defeat Breca. This fits into a Germanic tradition that's called a flyting or fluting. And in this tradition, it's essentially poetic insults. There's a famous example called the Loki Senna, where Loki, the trickster god of Norse mythology, berates all of the other gods, talking about how stupid they are, how foolish they are, dumb things that they have done, essentially mocks them. This mockery is actually found in a lot of poetry in Germanic times and is celebrated. So Unferth's episode represents this kind of scene of mockery. And Beowulf's response to it only serves to further emphasize Beowulf's nobility. Beowulf launches into a long digression about the competition that he had with Breca. For many nights, they were swimming at sea in the cold northern oceans. The waters were terrifying. There were typhoons and storms they were wrestling with. And they were swimming neck and neck when a tremendous sea monster attacked Beowulf. And Beowulf swims underwater and fights for a long time against this creature and defeats this creature. And ultimately, Breca wins the sea race and wins the glory. Beowulf's response is honest, it is truthful, it is forthright. Beowulf realizes that he was not successful in this heroic attempt, but he feels no shame. He celebrates the glory of his competitor, Breca, and Beowulf also shows his own deeds of valor. And Unferth is thoroughly shamed for showing a lack of hospitality. This also emphasizes an earlier theme that I mentioned, that Beowulf is still an unproven warrior, and that he arrives at Heorot not only again to help the king, but also to establish his reputation as a warrior and as a fighter. So this early scene in the hall shows some of the challenges of the warrior life, that the warrior is not always successful, and that the warrior will face mockery, and that the warrior will face questions, and that your response to these questions, to this mockery, is an opportunity to show your bravery, A bravery that consists not only of winning battles, but bravery as being humble, and bravery as being able to give noble speeches. And both Hrothgar and Beowulf show their nobility not only by their deeds, but also by their words. And this is an important element at this point in the poem, preceding the battle with Grendel. So after the Unferth episode, Beowulf lays in wait for Grendel and wins the initial battle against the monster.